So, a trailblazer in American politics and public service, Huma's career began in the White House as an intern for First Lady Hillary Clinton. And from there, she went on to serve as senior advisor in the US Senate, traveling chief of staff during the 2008 presidential campaign, and deputy chief of staff at the State Department. She later became vice chair of Hillary for America in 2016, helping lead the campaign that made history with the first woman nominee of a major political party. Huma is now chief of staff to Hillary Clinton, vice chair of the 3050 Summit, an MSNBC contributor, and a New York Times bestselling author. Born in the US, raised in Saudi Arabia, and now raising her son in New York City, she brings a truly global perspective to her work and writing. Huma, welcome. It is such a pleasure to have you here.
I'm thrilled. Oh, I'm so excited to be in conversation with you, Lucy. I've been looking forward to this and I cannot wait.
Oh, well, I mean, wow. On top of that incredible career and journey to date, what an incredibly powerful year you've had. You've got married, you've celebrated your 50th birthday. And where does your power come from to navigate what is at times such a complex journey?
You know, for me, I always credit my power to something from within. And I've often talked about the importance of knowing your roots and who you are and establishing that from a young age. And I think I had the benefit of having that, roots and resilience. And so for me, power comes from within. And I think that's how you're able to express yourself externally when you have that power inside of you.
I guess it's kind of not fighting where you've come from. It's embracing it and being part of you. Authenticity is the most powerful force that you can have. They've measured it against like happiness and kindness and humor, and actually authenticity is the most powerful force that is scientifically measurable, that comes from a human.
I have never heard that before, Lucy, but I have to say, your saying it resonates really powerfully with me, because the way I've always explained it to people who've asked me, or even to myself, to me, it's always just being unapologetically who I was. And now I can see how, you describe it, use that word authenticity, which I think that speaks very true to me. Just growing up and coming to this country, the United States, as a teenager, I didn't, live in this country until I went to university. And I was always different.
Saudi.
Yes. Yeah. I grew up there. I traveled a lot. I was very lucky to have parents who liked to travel a lot and wanted us to learn about the world and explore the world and have a different kind of education in a way. And so I just was who I was. I was different from everybody else around me. But I think that gives you a sense of confidence in who you are that leads to that power to exert your opinion, to take actions that others might think, are a little, nutty or unusual or unexpected. But it was a real gift for me.
And what's the most powerful decision that you've ever made? So out of everything, what do you think is the most powerful decision that you've made?
For me, there are probably many that stand out in terms of decisions I've made, both in my personal and my professional life. But I think the single most powerful decision I made was to write my story, to write my book, to speak out loud, to be somebody who was generally very private and very nervous and careful about expressing her feelings. Yes, brave is the word. It takes a lot of courage to be, one of the things about writing your truth is it forces you to write down what you believe, and being prepared to defend it, being prepared to stand by it, be prepared to live by what you write. And that's what I did. And once I got past the fear and wrote it down, it was the most liberating, exhilarating empowering thing I did.
And were you thinking kind of, I guess when you write everything down, there's certain things you think, oh, can I really say that? Can I, it's kind of, am I really brave enough to say that? And it's the power of kind of putting the entire story there and not just kind of filtering the bits that you feel safest with, maybe.
You make a choice, and some people you have a different view of, or have a particular view of how they want people to see them. And for me, it was kind of warts and all. I mean, every indecision or a decision I made that I may have regretted later, I just put it down there. And I think part of it was therapy. I was working it out as I wrote things down, and then I would read back and reflect on some of the things that I wrote. And it helped me learn some lessons, and it helped me unburden some traumas and fears. And I also enjoyed it. I enjoyed writing and enjoyed expressing myself.
What's the most powerful piece of advice you've been given, first of all, and who has been that most powerful influence?
Well, for me, no question, the most powerful influence were my parents. They instilled in me a sense of purpose, they were not parents who were strict in a traditional sense. They lived a certain way, and they kind of took us along for the ride. My parents were very active in the world. So as I mentioned earlier, we traveled a lot. I was attending conferences. I had to work in my dad's office starting when I was 9, 10 years old. So it was a sense of,
you doing the filing?
I mean, really, I was, yes, that's exactly. I was sharpening pencils, filing, organizing, making labels. But the sense, you mentioned earlier these studies about authenticity. There have been these studies about children who were raised having chores, grew up with, generally as adults, happier and more balanced. And I think it's because having a sense of responsibility, having a sense of, running in the playground and having the joy, but a balance of work, that work ethic my parents taught me. And I think
it's kind of almost children contributing as well. You were speaking about the balance. Yes. It's kind of children contributing to the family, to their kind of like community. It's very empowering.
It is. And I think for them, I grew up in a country where girls didn't have the same opportunities as boys did. And some would argue that many countries are, still in that place in 2025. And we weren't raised in a sense of, you're a girl, you could do whatever you want. We didn't have gendered roles in our house. It was my brother was going to, go to college and pick whatever, profession was interesting to him. And so were me and my sisters. And I think that gave us the liberation, the freedom to make our own choices. My dad always said, no freedom is absolute. And I've lived by that, and I think it was excellent advice.
Well done, Dad. Well done, Dad. And in your book, you were speaking about Hillary as an incredible mentor. Is there a piece of advice that she's given you that's like really powerfully resonated within you?
Every decision I've had to make in my professional life that has been challenging, I've had to make a lot of, just given my circumstances and living a very public marriage and living a very public life in the political sphere because of, my background and my, where I came from and my religion. The advice that Hillary always gave me, which I found most valuable, is she always said, take in other people's advice and thoughts and ideas, but in the end, make whatever decision you think is best for you, not what others think for you. Make the decision you think is right for you, yourself, your family, your child. And whenever I've done that, I have found that even though I've not always made the most popular choice, in the long run, it's been the best choice for me. And I really admire and appreciate her for giving me advice like that.
I guess it's kind of your right. Sometimes you forget it's your right to do that. And
That's
actually,
right.
you can be so absorbed in everything else. And they said this, what's right for this,
Right.
what's right for that. And actually, you forget that nobody else is going to speak up for you like you will. And it's your
And
right to
nobody
have that
walks
decision.
in. That's right. And nobody walks in your shoes. She'd always say, you're the only one who has to go home and live with that choice, live in that house, live
Yeah.
that life. And we spend society sometimes, in particular, a lot of women, I think, spend a lot of their time worried about what other people think.
Yeah.
What are other people going to say? And make decisions in their life based on other people's judgments. And I would argue that that's probably not the best thing for you in the long term if you don't really you have to put yourself first and your family
It's
first.
just the cycle of fear then, I guess. And that's
Yes.
never going to serve anybody well.
Yeah.
I guess, did you clearly move in like super powerful circles? Did you imagine as a young girl that this would be the case? And like, how do you deal with the pressure and the scrutiny that comes from that?
I didn't, as a child, I had this feeling that my life was going to be different. I didn't think I'm going to grow up and be powerful. But I didn't, I just had this vision that it would be different, that I wasn't going to have an average life. And I wasn't quite sure how I was going to get there or what I was going to do. I decided fairly early in my life I wanted to be a journalist. And followed that passion to Washington, D.C. and to study journalism. I didn't end up in journalism, but I've always said I think it was a combination of luck, fate, and just hard work that landed me
But you
where I
landed
landed.
yourself there.
Yeah,
You
it's
took
true.
that journey. You
That's
make
true.
your own. You make your own
That's true.
life.
That's true. That's true. That's
So you
true.
give yourself more credit.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. It's
need
a
to give
good,
yourself
yeah.
more credit.
You're right.
Um,
You're right. You're right about
and
that.
do you think that there's a pressure on women in these circles to like look a certain way? And how does that pressure differ, do you think, between men and women or different genders?
Uh, for me, the way I experienced when I first started in politics, I remember it wasn't being in Washington and working. I worked first at the White House and then in Congress. Fashion wasn't on the top of anyone's list, and I remember I always loved fashion, and I always liked putting outfits together for myself, and I made a name for myself back then. This is back now, we're talking about a quarter of a century ago. And so it wasn't natural to Washington at the time. A lot has changed since then. I mean, there are plenty of fashionable women in politics, but I experienced the gendered kind of the role that the pressure of how women look to be very, very much so during campaigns. That a lot of the criticism that women candidates would get were because, and particularly Hillary, who I worked for at the time, it was, how does she look? Oh my God, she doesn't have her, she wore her didn't wear her contacts and wore her eyeglasses one day. And people say, oh, she didn't have her makeup or she looks really tired today. Like, so much of the judgment of how women were viewed as professionals in politics, at least, is based on how they look.
I mean,
And
during a campaign, it's like you're not sleeping. I mean, like by you traveling, it's like it's such a
it's
pressurized time, and to put a woman under pressure because of that is terrible.
It's a terrible, and it's almost like it's a battle you cannot win. Every day, you have to get up, and the 90 minutes you spend getting your hair and makeup done, and what are you going to wear? And men don't have to ever worry about any of this. It's no one's ever commenting on their suit or their tie, and if they look tired, and if their makeup artist is off today. It's just a completely different conversation.
If they're
That
tired, it means you can't. Oh, we must have been working very hard.
That's right.
Do you know what I
That's
mean?
right. That's
Well,
exactly right. I
yeah.
mean, Pamela Anderson decides to go makeup free, and all of a sudden, it's a revolution. And the reality is then maybe that's a conversation that should be much more the norm these days, looking more naturally beautiful. And Lucy, I have to say, the biggest thing for me, when I posted about my 50th birthday and I wrote, I've never felt more powerful. It's funny, I used that word, not knowing we would have this conversation and have this conversation about power. And I think it's because as I have gotten older, I've spent a lot more time caring about taking care of myself. And before, taking care of myself was, okay, I'll get an extra, hour of sleep, but I'll still eat my French fries and pasta and, have that very intense life. And now it's, how am I taking care of my skin? What am I putting inside of myself? Am I finding some time to go to the gym? That's not being selfish. That's
investing in yourself.
Exactly.
Investing in your happiness.
That's exactly right.
Talking of skin, here we are.
Yes. Here we are.
The Lyma laser.
Yes.
So I guess,
yes.
What is your daily routine? We know that you're a fan of Lyma, the Lyma laser. And how have you incorporated it into your daily routine?
I confess I have been late on my skincare and taking care of myself. As I said, I for years was that young woman who fell asleep with her makeup on. I was so exhausted, sleeping for 2 hours, and I'd get up in the morning, wash my face, throw some makeup back on again. And for me, that was always lipstick and mascara and on the go. And now I have to say, what's so great about my experience is, number one, I met you. And
by chance, in Abu Dhabi.
by chance. I mean, you were the talk before you got there. And I told you I was getting married, and you said you must start using it. And I really followed your guidance. And now I just make it part of my daily routine. So I'll get up early and I'll read the newspaper or I'll read my emails. And that's usually when I'll do my face. And first I thought, there's no way I can do.
You do, but then I said to you, you can do it.
You can do it. And I can. And I have been able to. And the crazy thing is, I almost emailed you because I went on my honeymoon this summer and I was gone for a long period of time. And I almost emailed you and said, should I travel with this? And I did.
Yes.
And I do the same thing if I'm sitting out and if I'm taking a break in the app. What I changed on the road was the time was not always the same. So if I'm sitting, in the middle of the afternoon and having a coffee, I would just take out my laser and use it. And I use it on my face, and I use it on, and this is my big, confession. I use it on my legs, which you
had the scar. Yeah.
I have the scar from the burn. I have a little cellulite. I have been shocked at the impact it's had on my legs. And it's not even like you notice it on a daily basis. One day you look at yourself and you're like, oh my God. And that's what happened to me.
Do you know what? Because it's funny.
The consistency.
It is the consistency. Like, unless you take a before, that's why I said take a before and after, because when you use it every day, you don't kind of notice, because you see it every day, you don't notice, it's really progressing. And I was thinking after 4 weeks, is it working? Is it not working? And then I looked at the before and after, I was like, oh my God, were my knees like that? Were they really like that before I started? So no, it's an incredible piece of technology. But I guess, what do you do every day to give you your power, to give you your energy? And do you have any daily rituals that are non-negotiables?
My daily rituals that are my non-negotiables are, I will do something physical. So I will either go to the gym, or I'll walk somewhere, or I'll spend 10 minutes doing yoga or stretching in my room. I never thought or processed the impact that was going to have on how I feel. And I wake up every single day, and I've done this for as long as I can remember. And I just express gratitude for something in my life. And I think having that gratitude, recognizing the privilege, frankly, of having good health. I think the greatest privilege I have is good health.
Nobody appreciates good health until, you can have 1,000,001 problems,
Yeah.
and then you've not got good health, and the rest of those million and one problems just go
That's
away.
exactly right. That's exactly right. And I'm intentional about that. And maybe it's because I was raised in a house where my father was sick my whole life. And so it gave me an additional feeling of every day I get up and I am healthy. I have gratitude for it. And I just think walking through life, just being grateful for what you have, being grateful for the people in your life, grateful for being able to wear beautiful clothes or go to an amazing dinner or being surrounded by friends. I just have gratitude for my spouse and my child. It's, I feel extremely, extremely blessed. But I recognize it. I stop myself. Sometimes if I feel like I'm being, frivolous about something or upset or I want to snap, I just take a step back and think, I'm so lucky to have everything that I have.
Yeah.
And that's what grounds me every day.
It's I always think that your thoughts are the most powerful part in your body. They can your brain only thinks what your thoughts tell it. So you have the control and the power to change your narrative at any point in the day if you're brave enough to actually just, even if you don't believe it, just say the thoughts, because eventually your brain will be kind of tuned to believe it. And what makes you feel less powerful? What takes your power away?
When my son is sick, and that is just came into my head as we're having this conversation, and I realize, because I feel helpless. That's the only time when I don't know, to watch the most important being in my life in pain and not knowing how to make him feel better in that moment. That's when I feel most powerless, especially when he's in pain. And whether it's a flu or it's, he's just, that's probably my most authentic answer.
Children are they're like the most intense feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
My
You
daughter,
can,
honestly,
yeah.
she comes home with the world's most inconsequential problem, and my heart just goes, oh.
Yeah.
It's very,
Yeah.
very difficult.
I think
But you
any parent
feel
would
their pain.
understand. You
Yeah,
feel it. You
I can
feel it.
physically
And
feel it, and it's
yeah,
really not even a problem in the
yeah.
scheme of problems.
No, it's not.
Let's talk about your book, Both and. And in it, you talk about the highs and lows of your journey and the obstacles that you've encountered. What was it that gave you the impetus to write the book? And is there another book in you?
I would hope that there is another book in me, because I enjoyed that process so much, just sitting and writing and expressing. And I've gotten very good at journaling again. I would never have written it if it was my choice. It was forced upon me. Several people who pushed
Why
me
was
to
it
do it,
forced upon you?
because I was so I was so private. And my fear, my biggest fear, it was funny, I wasn't even the idea of writing. The idea was, one day I have to do a TV interview, one day I have to speak publicly. And I was so terrified of public speaking and expressing myself to the world that
That's
it
crazy, because you are
paralyzed
just
me.
so now. I mean, like, you are such
I
an
mean,
amazing public.
but it's funny that you say that, Lucy, because, now when I tell young women, do the thing that scares you the most, that's one of my mantras that I say to young women who ask me for advice. I say, do the thing that scares you the most. You never know. You might be really good at it. And I say that as a lesson to myself, because that was overcoming a fear. I mean, it was other women in my life who said, you have an extraordinary story and you can help a lot of women. You should share it. I did. And it ended up being, honestly, one of the best things that I could have done. Women who know me now, friends of mine who are at my wedding, will literally come up to me and say, if this is possible for you to end up here in your new happily ever after, it's possible for
Yeah,
anybody. Because
yeah.
you rewind my life 12 years ago, and it was a very different, very challenging, very alienating and isolating,
Scary.
and
Yeah.
terrifying. That's, yeah, terrifying period of my life.
But it
But I
just goes
woke up
to show
every day. Go
evolution.
ahead.
Go on. Yeah.
Evolution. No, but to me, when I think about the magic for me, there's to wake up every single day and have hope. I think hope is one of the most powerful words, one of the most powerful elements you can have in your life. Because if you can get up every day and have hope, that's the belief that anything's possible. And I think I woke up, even on the worst days, I had hope.
Really?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel that, you just kind of, if things get really bad, you just exist until the initial pain has passed.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
kind of like you almost go through that transient phase of,
Yeah.
well, I'm just letting this ride me and then I'll come out the other end. But to
Yeah.
actually have hope every day when you are going through a trauma, that shows the strength. That's a testament to your strength.
Yeah. And when you have children, you have to have hope.
Well, you do, but you can have a fake hope sometimes.
Yes.
Just in front of them.
No, for sure. But
And
it saved me, I would say.
you studied journalism and political science. What advice would you give to young people who may be aspiring to a career in politics?
Well, these days, at least in the United States, politics for some people is an intimidating line of work. I try to encourage young people to be involved in the process, get engaged, however, in whichever form you're interested in, whether that's, attending public discourses, studying to be in politics, running for local school election. And in part, I say it because leadership matters. I know it sounds super cliche, but the people who lead, whether it's your city, your state, your country, they make decisions that will impact your life and your children's lives. And if you care about the direction, either which way, I'm not saying be one way or another, be involved in the process. So I think now more than ever, we need more young people to be involved in politics. I've loved it, and we need more young people.
I guess now kind of the accessibility of social media has helped people become involved because you can just put a comment. It doesn't have to be that you need to do something really big, or really daunting. You can just support your cause very easily through social media, or
That's right.
it's a lot more accessible.
Yeah.
And finally, what powerful advice would you give to your younger self, and to young women starting out on their journeys today?
It gets better with age.
It actually does, doesn't it?
And I would have never believed that. You don't think so? I wouldn't have believed that 25 years ago when I started. It gets better with age. And I can say that as somebody who just turned 50, and I feel better at 50 than I did at 40, and better at 50 than I did at 30, truly, in terms of confidence and health and hope and resilience and optimism and wanting to do more and feeling, less judged by the world and not caring so much about what other people think. Age and experience is a good thing.
Yeah, I think maturity solves a lot of things.
Yeah.
The pressure on it when you're in your 20s, like, oh my God, like the pressure. And it's now like, maturity just solves so much internal pressure that you have when you're younger.
It really does.
Maybe because you have everything physically when you're in your 20s, you have it all there. So you don't appreciate it. You don't have to kind of watch things go or watch things slip or anything like that.
That's right.
Anyway, thank you so much, Huma.
Lucy, thank you.
Thank you for talking to me today.
I really, really enjoyed this. And thank you for what you're doing with Lyma, because I think you are changing the lives of people, not just women, around the world. And I wish you well, and I hope Lyma continues to truly expand and transform people's lives, because it's something very special, and it's very timely. So thank you for what you're doing and your leadership and your commitment.
No, thank
I'm a
you.
huge fan, and will continue
Always
my
use
daily
the laser.
practice.
Always use the laser.
Yes,
This will
I will.
keep us looking like we're in our 20s one day, but have the maturity of our 50s.
Sounds like the perfect mix.
Exactly. No, thank you so much, and wishing you all the success, every single minute of success, every single second. Really, really lovely to see you so happy.
Likewise. Thank you so much.